Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the Rogue Report. My name is Matt, and today's topic is going to be about stand-up comedy and stand-up comedians, people that I find funny and people that I would say that are the inspiration to most comedians today. But today is different because once again I have somebody joining me, and this person's actually been on an episode of Rogue Report before. It's Tim Titan.
Hola.
Hello.
Thank you for having me once again, Rogue. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for being here.
It's weird seeing us both on video knowing it's not going to be used.
We're looking at each other. They don't know what we look like. You have actually done stand-up before.
Attempted.
That's one of the reasons why attempted. One of the reasons why I wanted to bring you in, but then again, I know the fact that we're both like really big fans of it as well. The first question I guess I would have for you when it came to stand-up is, well, I guess, how much did you actually do?
I did open mics for about 5-6 months where I was going like 2-3 nights a week. Like a lot of people that end up making it are going 2 or 3 shows a night, 4 or 5 nights a week. So, I mean, me doing 2 or 3 shows a week. Yeah, me doing 2 or 3 shows a week is really nothing at the end. And you only get like 5-minute sets, so.
But then again, would you say that you kind of use some of that stand-up skill in the wrestling ring?
Oh yeah, I mean that was pretty much my big over in wrestling was, I would say, the funny stuff. I always enjoyed being more of a comedy wrestler than a guy that got taken serious, for sure. So.
All right, well, starting it off with I had given you a list of a couple of people who I was going to talk about.
Hey, you know what? You said I could bring somebody up. You want to start with an instant connection? Let's go back to the original comedian who took over wrestling, and that's Andy Kaufman. So that's
fucking epic.
There's your segue right there. So, I mean...
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I wasn't super familiar with Andy Kaufman until Man on the Moon came out, unluckily. But once Man on the Moon came out, I went back and watched a bunch of his stuff, and that dude really was so far ahead of his time.
Did you actually see the Letterman thing?
Oh, absolutely.
With him and Lawler?
Uh-huh.
It's one of my favorite clips. It's technically it's a wrestling promo, so it's one of my favorite promos, and it's him losing his mind, screaming at him, calling him, you're a fucking asshole, screaming at Lawler the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say... I necessarily wasn't a really big fan of Kaufman's because of the fact that he was kind of before my time. But like the stuff that I have watched of him doing, he had a bit where he would sit down at a table. He would bring a table out and have a chair and a sit down, and he would eat a bowl of ice cream. And that was the bit.
He hired a guy to go in the audience to heckle him. And it wasn't so that he could make comebacks. Like the guy literally heckled him to a point where he would leave the stage. But it was all Andy Kaufman was the one who hired the guy to do it. Like
he would hire the guy and make him leave the stage, and the guy he would walk off physically upset, crying.
Mm-hmm.
And then the MC would be like, "You know who the fuck that was? I was Andy Kaufman. You guys are being super ignorant. Let's get him back up here. Please get him back up here." He would come back up, do the exact same set, bawling his fucking eyes out.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. Dude was way ahead of his time, in my opinion. He would have been huge on TikTok and streaming and stuff like that right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know what? He would be somebody that I would say that would totally thrive. And I'm not saying that he didn't do well when he was around, because one of the other comedians that I actually was going to bring up would be George Carlin. And to me, he would be somebody that would have gotten canceled fucking years ago.
Yes, he would have had a rough time nowadays, I think. I think he was right in the perfect time for him.
Because some of the notes that I actually have on Carlin is that he started doing comedy. It wasn't necessarily stand-up comedy, but he was doing comedy shows on the radio. That's when, back in the day when nobody had a television or not everybody could afford one.
And then if I remember right, he was actually one of the OG Saturday Night Live cast members too, right?
No, he was the first host ever.
Okay, I knew he was something OG on Saturday Night Live. Okay.
So OG host, just one of the first ones. I feel like he might have only hosted that one time too.
Maybe.
I don't know if he was too much of a controversial person to have on or whatever, but the radio shows that he was doing was nothing. It was all very proper, and obviously he wasn't that wasn't 7 Dirty Words Carlin. This was late 60s Carlin. He was in his 20s just starting out. the one thing that I honestly, he's the first person that I remember seeing comedy from, because my dad introduced me to stand-up comedy, and the first person that I ever watched was George Carlin.
Okay.
And I called him the guy that made the faces. I called him the guy that made the sounds. Like, and that's kind of what he did. That's one of the things that like I liked about him a lot as a younger person. Getting older, going back and watching his stuff, you can see this change that he ended up making, where he grew out of that proper sense of like who he thought he was supposed to be, and then did make this really weird hipster type change.
Yeah, see, he did get weird for a little bit. Yeah, he did get weird for a little bit.
More controversial. He kind of like was more for like, he was like the hippie Carlin, if you will, like the hippie dippy weatherman. He did change his ways a little bit, got a little bit more political. That material came out, and I want to say like, you know, the 80s, 90s or whatever like that. He has, you know, a bunch of different records here. Like, his first one was in 72. He had the 7 Dirty Words album. I don't remember the actual name of the album. I don't have that written down, but his HBO specials, he has at least 9, I think.
I know he released one pretty close before his death. Like, it wasn't long before his death that he released an HBO special.
I want to say that was like 2006. So it honestly wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. I think my first ever stand-up that I got really into was the Bill Burr Comedy Central Presents from like 96, 97 or something. So that's probably like, Bill Burr may be the first comedian that I actually really enjoyed. The
first time I actually ever saw Bill Burr would have been like just one of the other random specials that he had on HBO. It was probably his first one.
It might have been. I'd say he had a lot of good stuff. Somebody me and you have actually seen live together, Bill Burr.
Yeah, we did. That show was rather forgettable.
It kind of was. I don't think comedy's meant for that type of environment. Yeah, the comedy club, the intimate environment, like thousands of people like that. And it was just overwhelming for comedy, I think.
We saw Todd Glass at a smaller venue, and it was 10 times the better show just because it was in a smaller venue, I feel like.
The girl with the violin that opened for him, I still think about, like, I wish I could remember her. I laughed so hard during her set, I don't remember any of her jokes. I don't remember her name, nothing. Like, I just remember trying to catch my breath the entire time she was on stage.
But yeah, like, I've actually been to the Improv, the only person that I've actually ever seen at the Improv, and I'm not really happy about this, but it's somebody that me and my mother enjoyed, and I was like 16 or something like that. We saw Jeff Dunham live.
Actually,
and we saw him at the Improv. It was close enough. Like, it wasn't like, you know, he wasn't like doing some of his like more raunchy shit, because the show was more of like an 18 and under or allowed type thing.
Okay.
He cleaned it up a little bit, but like, that was the first time I have ever seen Ahmed, because he didn't bring that puppet out. That was the debut during that tour.
Oh, so wow. That was okay. Cool. So you basically saw him on the tour before he really took off, because that was the puppet that made him famous, really.
Yeah, well, yeah, and plus, like, he was blacked out on the posters, so nobody knew, like, oh, he's debuting a new puppet. And before, I saw him before that special would have came out.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But taking it back to Bill Burr, I remember when that special came out after we saw that show, and I was like, yeah, this is the same show we watched. It wasn't, that special was kind of rather weak.
So I think he has the disadvantage of he's been so strong for so long that him having a mediocre special seems a lot worse than it is, if that makes sense. Like, it was really still funny. It's just that Bill Burr is comedy royalty at this point.
Yeah, he's a big swinger. Basically big. Yeah.
I think he has that disadvantage more of just everybody expects the world from him.
I also like the fact that, I feel like Bill Burr does respect a lot of people though too, or at least throughout the like stand-up community and stuff like that. Because the next person that I actually do want to bring up here is somebody that has said something about Bill Burr has said something about this person that I totally agree with. Now, this guy's a little bit more controversial in the sense of not a lot of people like this dude anymore.
Okay.
And I want to talk about Dane Cook.
Okay.
Something that Bill Burr had a quote about Dane that he said, you got to give it to him. This isn't verbatim, but he's like, you got to give it to him. The dude was a fucking trailblazer. He set like a milestone and he did what he had to do to, you know, get it done. Like, he sold records. His fucking one record, Retaliation, was double platinum. He fucking sold out arenas. with fucking full of fucking people, sold tickets and shit, made the money that he made. But the biggest thing I think about Dane Cook was the fact that he was considered never funny.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed Dane Cook as a comedian. I think his public bathrooms bit is one of the funniest things ever. Like, dudes running into the bathroom and just drop kicking the door off, it looks like. And why does it look like a big shaggy dog that's all wet just came in here and shook off? Why is it so wet in here? Like, stuff like that. And then did you ever see the subway bit where he talks about he gets on the subway and just does like these weird poses and makes faces so nobody fucks with him on the subway? Like, I mean, he definitely has some funny stuff, but like you said, he got pigeonholed immediately of like a bro comedian or a college comedian or something like that.
When I like his brand of comedy was like the only thing that I thought that was very genuine just to him. I called it stadium comedy.
Yeah. It's stuff that works with big audiences. Yeah, stuff that still works with a big audience. Yeah.
And you said about when we went and saw Bill Burr, we were in Heinz Hall, right?
No, it was
Benedum Center or some
Benedum
bullshit.
Center. It was Benedum Center. Yep.
That fucking location. It's not necessarily big, but it was rather. It's a large building. You could fit a couple hundred in there, obviously. But
I think it was 2,500.
I had an opportunity to go see Dane Cook, like when I was in high school or something. But the show would have been at PBG Paints in the arena.
Oh wow. Oh, is that the rotating stage one?
Yeah, like him in the round.
Yeah, we had the big circle and he just went and played the whole audience basically.
Yeah.
The super middle finger. I can't remember what it was called. Like that was the one where
the Sufi was. I can't remember the whole fucking meaning behind the Sufi, but or Sufi rather.
Sufi, yeah.
Whatever. Who gives a fuck? But I will say, like the first time that I saw Dane Cook, I thought he was fucking hilarious. You had said something about Bill Burr on Comedy Central Presents. Dane Cook's Comedy Central Presents was like the start of his shit, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, that was another one.
He was working the whole 90s, but like that 30-second little or 30-minute shit fucking skyrocketed his career.
That's another one I remember. I'm pretty sure that Comedy Central Presents is where he introduced the big shaggy dog public bathroom joke and them jokes I'm talking about.
And the pickles.
Uh-huh.
The pickles.
I like it. He has a joke about like a chick having poison mist in her mouth and spraying it into a dude's eyes, but he's so thirsty for pussy, he's still gonna be like, listen, just give me your number. Let me buy you one drink as he's wiping poison from his eyes.
And then like, okay, so I have that he had Harmful of Swallowed, he had Retaliation. Those were albums. The shows that he did in the round were Vicious Circle in Boston. And then he did Rough Around the Edges Madison Square Garden.
That's right.
The Madison Square Garden show, I learned that most of that was kind of improv. Like the entire show was him just fucking ranting and doing some riffing bullshit.
That's crazy.
Something about him filming or whatever and doing some other bullshit. Like he just got tied up with the show. And then like once it was ready to go, he didn't have anything new for it. So he ran a couple old ones and then just fucked off with the rest of it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of impressive.
I always kind of judge a comedy special by that of like, I know I laughed a lot, but I can't remember any of the jokes. So that means the next one must have caught my attention so well that it didn't give me long enough to really remember that first one. So like if I can go back and watch a comedy special and still get a good amount of laughs off it from stuff that I heard before but forgot he said or
right. Yeah, I can watch the same special. If it's that Vicious Circle one, I can totally watch that one over and over again because I do remember that one a good bit.
Yeah. I was going to say the big thing with Dane Cook that I always think about is the story with his brother and his brother ripping him off, man.
I have that down here. Yeah, like it was both of his parents had passed away a couple months apart from each other, something like that. And then his brother, or I think it was his half or step.
It was his half brother. His half brother, who was a prison guard. He like went and got him out of the prison guard and made him his manager. And basically, dudes started embezzling millions of dollars from him.
Right, and then basically took all of his shit from him, screwed him over completely.
Which is the way that he turns it is really funny because he says that he has a text message from a federal agent where they like punched a hole out in his brother's wall and there was a bunch of money hidden behind it. And so like a federal agent sent Dane Cook a text message. It was like, look what we got coming back to you, big guy. And it's just a bunch of money behind a wall.
Did he get his money back?
He got some of it back. I guess it has to go through federal things, but I listened to him on Your Mom's House and he told the whole story. And he said that he at least got some of it back, but like maybe 25% of what the dude took.
Okay. I didn't actually know that much about that, but I do remember like him losing most of his shit there for a while, because he did do like one of his last specials that was either on, and I think it was on like Comedy Central. It would have been Isolated Incident.
Yes.
And that was another smaller venue show that I do remember actually being okay or whatever. It was right around that time, I think, is when his parents would have passed away. And then that was like starting the downfall of maybe this is when he was figuring the shit out about his brother or whatever.
Yeah.
But then comes all the accusations of him just stealing jokes. And it's not just by the one person. Like Louis C.K. has accused them of stealing jokes multiple times.
But they seem to also have buried the hatchet because Dane was on that episode of Louis.
Right. Which they kind of seem to just make fun out of it anyway.
Yeah.
Everybody gets an itchy asshole because I'm pretty sure that's what the joke was anyway.
Louis C.K. has also accused Dennis Leary of stealing stuff. Louis C.K. said he's the originator of the asshole bit.
There's a very easy clip that you can find of Dimitri Martin. Remember him?
Yep, guitar dude.
Oh yeah, he did play the guitar,
Yep.
but he also did. I know him as the drawing guy.
Okay.
But I don't remember what the joke was, but it's literally like months or so afterwards, he got accused of stealing one of his jokes, and Joe Rogan has called him out. And the way that he explained it was, "Hey, Dane, you got something that you just did recently. It sounds a lot like what I've just been doing." And he actually goes, "You know what, my bad. I had no idea that this was happening. I could definitely take this out on my set, no problem." And it was like all cool about that. Mm. And then like not too long after that, Rogan's like, "This motherfucker's using another one of my bits. It's not the same one he was using, but it's another one." It's like, hey, dude, cut the shit.
Yeah.
Like
that kind of ended up being Amy Schumer's downfall. She got accused of, and then, like, you got to think, dude, remember how big Amy Schumer was a couple years ago?
I mean, she had her own show.
She had a movie, bro. That movie wasn't bad either. John Cena killed it in that movie.
Oh my God. He was funny. He was accidentally the funniest person in that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it wasn't a bad movie. It's just everybody started to hate her right after it came out.
You did bring somebody up there a second ago, and I can't remember who it was that I didn't have on this fucking list. And I was like, that's another good one.
Was it Amy Schumer?
No.
Was it Nate Bargatze?
No, you did say Nate Bargatze earlier.
Yeah,
when
before
we were
starting
this up. Yeah, but that's one person, in all honesty, that I could
Louis
say
CK?
that I really.
Louis C.K. was the other one I said.
I mean, I kind of did bring him up, but Nate Bargatze, like that's all you, because if all honesty, I just never really watched his material. I never really paid attention.
Nate Bargatze is this fucking generation's Brian Regan, basically. He's one of the funniest dudes in the country right now. Doesn't swear, all clean material.
Oh, okay, Brian Regan, I get you.
One of my favorite comedians for sure. He has a bit about seeing his wife's ex-boyfriend on a boat. Like, they were out boating on a lake, and he saw his wife's ex-boyfriend, and his buddies were like, "Well, you should have went and fought him." And he goes, "How would I have done that? He would have had to help me onto his boat." I'd be like, "Sir, I need you to help me up onto your boat. I could not tell you why, but it is very imperative that you let me on your boat." And he goes, "You know how unintimidating you look swimming towards somebody with a life jacket on?"
A clean comic.
I think that's part of the reason I like him so much, is it catches you off guard, man. You're not like, you don't realize afterwards,
you're not
like,
necessarily
wow,
ready.
He didn't say a single curse word that whole set.
One of my favorite clean comics of all time. I mean, Brian Regan is also, that's just a great name.
Yeah.
Jim Gaffigan would be a nice clean comic.
Yeah, he's very good. He got away with doing the voice a lot as a punchline, though.
Yeah, I think he kind of like laid off of that a little bit more recently, though.
There was a good bit where he kind of got away with just being a pale guy doing a funny voice as a punchline.
I will say the whole thing too. I kind of I know that Louis C.K. does still do stand up here and there, but he's not very mainstream anymore, just because of some random fucking bullshit. Once again, that, you know,
I mean,
wasn't really anybody else's business.
Special was fucking gold, though.
Absolutely, the one where he was wearing the suit.
Oh, gold, man. Yeah, where the one where he came out after the allegations, and he was like, "I mean, I asked."
No, didn't he come out after the allegations and go, "So, what's going on with you guys lately?
Yeah.
Have you guys been up to anything?
That's
going
why
on in your lives?"
I think one of the best specials to be released in the last couple years is that Mulaney one, where he
Baby J,
where he talks about the coke and stuff, and like that special was amazing to me, legitimately.
Absolutely, I was literally gonna say that's one. He's definitely one of my favorite comedians today is John Mulaney.
Yeah.
I think he's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the other person that I do have on my list, somebody that I think both respect a lot, is Tony Hinchcliffe.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about it. I don't remember ever really seeing him do stand-up, though. Like, yes, I love Kill Tony, where he comes out and roasts people, but I could not tell you one actual Tony Hinchcliffe stand-up joke. So I don't know.
I have seen his special, One Shot.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it in a minute, and like you said, I don't remember that much of it. The one thing that I honestly do respect from him about when it comes to stand-up comedy is what he actually does do at Kill Tony, because to me it's him respecting the process.
Yeah.
We can go back to how Dane Cook got fucking famous in the first place, is because he fucking did his own thing with
MySpace,
being a motherfucker on MySpace, and being that guy and using the internet and boosting his shit. That's why you would see all these college people around, because that's who his fans are. That's his demographic and shit. Tony's demographic is fucking anybody that wants to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
Or anybody that wants to do stand-up on his fucking show.
I mean, he's even bringing in some guests now where he's had sketch in there recently. So, I mean, he's keeping up with what's popular also, which is impressive.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that now. I forgot that sketch was on.
The sketch episode was really funny, too. His interaction with Cam Patterson was quite hilarious.
Kill Tony has 2.25 million subscribers on YouTube.
Wow.
That's on YouTube.
That's on YouTube. That's not even including just podcasts, because I usually tend to listen to it on Spotify. That's just a podcast.
I actually haven't been watching it as of late, but that's all right. I did watch the Netflix one, because obviously it was on Netflix. Yeah. I was interested.
I was going to say, I like the Ari Matty guy on there right now a lot.
Yeah, he's one of the better regulars. Mm-hmm. Cam Patterson being long time there. I feel like Casey Rocket was just in Pittsburgh not too long ago.
I saw that.
Maybe
I saw that. Yep. He'd be interesting to see live, I think.
Like you said about Tony's like material, right? He's a little bit more known for roasts and writing roast jokes and being like somewhat of an insult comic.
Absolutely, yes.
Why do I have a feeling that when you're labeled an insult comic, it kind of I don't know if it's putting a chip on your shoulder or it's an insult to be called an insult comic. But for me, like,
I mean, from what I hear, he literally drives a Corvette with a license plate on it that says I roast. Dude, you never saw the Shane Gillis roast where he roasts him?
No.
And yeah, he talks about how Tony came to Hollywood thinking he was going to be the next Joker, and he goes, he even does the Joker laugh in front of his friends. I know this because they told me, and they make fun of him behind his back.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you should look up the Legion.
I will, for sure.
It's a Legion of Skanks roast. I think it's of Louis J. Gomez. But Shane Gillis gets up and his opening line is, "I do not have much for this because this is gay." And then he really gives it to Ari Shaffir. He's like, Ari Shaffir is both edgy and like controversial, which are both really cool things for a 50-year-old man to be.
I like the fact that Tony, I feel like he does like appreciate the hustle that it takes to be the comedian. That's why like some of these people that do come on his show, I think Brian Redband is kind of a perv because only people that he lets on the secret show anymore are just women.
That's his thing.
But like the whole thing of like everything that goes on too in Austin. It just seems like for some reason you had New York East Coast comics, you had LA West Coast comics, and now for all of a sudden you have Austin as one of the like hubs for comedy or stand-up comedy.
I mean, that was a lot of Joe Rogan did that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I was going to give him the credit because of the Mothership Club, which when they opened up the Mothership, they had said some shit like, "Oh, Joe Rogan has opened up a non-woke comedy club." And I'm like, "Oh, you mean stand-up comedy?"
Yeah, so I don't remember ever reading that, but
where you make a joke and you're not supposed to take the joke seriously because it's fucking comedy.
Because it's a joke.
That's the one. Yeah, it's the one thing that sucks. But then recently, I had it in there. Do you know the Pendang incident with Tony and how he almost got canceled?
Yeah, I know that one. Yeah,
that one's like the shittier story of him, like, you know, just basically telling the same joke. I mean, it's like not stealing the joke, but like dude's up on stage saying some hilarious racist shit. So Tony gets up there and says some hilarious racist shit, but it's made out to say like Tony was just being an asshole. It's just like, yeah, that shit was fucked. And then the whole Puerto Rico joke at the Trump rally.
That was taken way too serious.
And then also at the same time, in my opinion, why are you doing jokes at a political rally.
I mean, I don't disagree with that.
Like, no offense, but why are you even here?
Well, I mean, to bring it back around again, you had Tony Hinchcliffe commentating on Raw to remake this connection. You have Burt Kreischer. You have Burt Kreischer out there choke slamming people.
That's because of the Netflix deals. That's why, though.
But
not Burt Kreischer.
Yeah, Burt Kreischer came.
Oh yeah, he was there. Dude. I do remember there.
I think it was Austin Theory you choke slammed.
I just have a feeling all that Netflix bullshit, because they do pop up. People are going to keep popping up. I'm surprised that Shane Gillis hasn't showed up on WWE recently.
Give it time.
And then, I mean, he did the thing with Pat, but that necessarily wasn't a WWE thing.
No, that looked really funny though, from what I've seen.
Did you not watch it?
I didn't watch the whole thing. I've watched parts of it, but like Jey Uso came out at a point even, right?
Jey Uso was there. Jelly Roll opened the show, I think. It was like Wiz and Snoop at the end of it. Yeah, my brother had a really good fucking time.
Wow. That's crazy.
I don't know. Like when those tickets first came out, I was interested in going, and then I was like, oh no, I mean, I could just probably watch it on YouTube, and yeah, it would just be as enjoyable.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, I see Jelly Roll come out. I'm like, all right, whatever, it's Jelly. And then like they had the magician there, and I was like, that's kind of fucking weird. And then the sumo wrestling with Shane Gillis a part of it. I would have fucking lost my mind at that point.
Yeah.
And then when Jey Uso's music hit, I wouldn't have thought that he was actually coming out. And then when he started coming down out of the crowd, I'm like, this dude's he's kind of a gangster for that. Like, one of my things too is to see Snoop Dogg live in person, and then Anthony has that over me, and I'm really pissed off.
Yeah, that would be sick to see him in person. I saw Snoop on Chat Roulette one night, which used to be Omega. It used to be called Chat Roulette. But we were going through one night, and it was just Snoop Dogg was sitting there smoking a blunt, and I was like, oh, here's somebody playing a Snoop Dogg video. And then Snoop looks up and goes, who you calling a video? And I was like, oh shit, it's actually Snoop Dogg.
And then he fucking hit right. He was gone.
Dude, he talked to us for like 10, 15 seconds and then was like, all right, I gotta go, guys. Have a good night. But dude, it was legit. Like, it was a whole group of people with Snoop Dogg sitting in the middle of it.
When?
Oh, dude. Chat Roulette was still a thing, man. This had to have been 10 years ago. I was at in fact, it was so long ago.
10 years.
It was so long ago. I was at Zach's house because he was the only one of us that had internet at the time. So I remember like the three of us, Zach was there and Chop was there also, by the way, I'm pretty sure. So they will both vouch for me. Like, we were on Chat Roulette one night fucking around and ran into Snoop Dogg.
Okay, so thanks for telling me this story like 10 years later,
yeah.
I guess.
Like,
you should have told me that a long time ago.
Like I said, we literally, at one point, Chop goes, put your right arm up. And he goes, brother. And just puts his right arm up. And he's like, dude, it really is him. Yeah, so I have two people were with me, so I got people to vouch for me on that one.
That's fucking insanity.
Uh-huh. They must have been in like the studio or something. It was just like, hey, Snoop, let's hop on Chat Roulette and fuck around with people for a minute. Like I said, there was like 6 or 7 people with him just sitting on these couches fucking smoking a blunt.
That's awesome. Well, all right. The only other comedian that I honestly had wanted to talk about, because he's, in all honesty, the best comedian of all time, in my opinion.
Okay.
Only because of the fact that I feel like he has no filter and doesn't give a fuck about, he's going to tell the joke and it's a joke. Don't take it too seriously. Dave Chappelle.
Oh, yeah. Dave Chappelle. Okay. Yeah. See, what's funny is I would either say...
Thank you.
What's hilarious is the funny part about it is I would either say Dave Chappelle or Dave Attell are probably 1 and 2, in my opinion, and for greatest comics of all time.
Even for they also fit with the non-filter thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So
Dave Attell didn't give a fuck either.
You could have went Chappelle or Attell there, and I'd have been okay with it.
Why I want to give it to Chappelle is just because of the fact that like he's also been around for as long as he has, fucking like 30, 40 years or whatever the fuck he's been doing it. I want to say he's like what, like 55 maybe.
I want to say, I'd say definitely early 50s.
I just think, for whatever reason, like his shit will not get old. You like saying you go back to, an old special and seeing if it can still make you laugh. Go back to Killing Them Softly and try watching that and not laughing.
Oh, dude, his with the baby selling the drugs thing.
Hey, baby.
Baby, what are you doing out there? That's one of the funniest stand-up bits of all time, in my opinion. Like, and then the good thing with Chappelle is
selling weed.
Chappelle is famous enough to where shit happens to him that he can comment on. That's what I think Dave Attell's big thing. He never got boiled in any controversy or nothing really, Attell, to where it gave him a chance to give us his funny commentary on the situation he was in. We've got that from Chappell.
And plus you have the whole like story behind like even the whole Chappell show, the 2-season run of Chappell show, 2. And like him not even, wanting to keep that money, not wanting their bullshit. He didn't want to play ball and did like basically bet on himself. And then that's like one of the other reasons why I think like it's insane to me that like getting handed, what was it, like $50 million or some crazy shit. He turns that down.
It was a lot of money.
And just to say, no, I'm cool. I'm going to go. I'll trust me. I got this. That's insane to me that he was able to, I mean, I'm not saying that he got lucky or anything like that. He fucking deserves it. He's fucking hilarious. But like you look at like he's won probably Grammys for albums. He's probably won a couple of Emmys. I'm assuming. Oh no, he definitely won. He won an Emmy just for being the host of Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, I mean it
because he's that good.
Yeah, you're probably right. He probably maybe not of all time, but the best of our generation, I'd say.
Even like the last time he hosted Saturday Night Live earlier in the year before Trump came back, like some of the shit that he was saying, he was talking about the wildfires. One of the funniest fucking jokes I've ever heard him say, like he was just like, the wildfires in LA were the most expensive natural disaster to ever happen to this country. And he's like, yeah, because people in LA have nice things. I can go to Mississippi and burn fucking 4,000 acres for $500-$600.
Yeah. Burn the whole state down.
And then, he's also one of the comedians that recently, I want to say, and that was like in the past like 5 years or so, he got that Mark Twain award at the Kennedy Center.
Yep.
Mark Twain Prize for Comedy.
Another comedian who owns a comedy club. Also, he owns a comedy club in Ohio.
I was gonna say it was either that. I feel like he might also have one in DC. I could be wrong.
Okay, I know he has one in Ohio because he was talking about it on a podcast.
And then he did that whole show. He did those COVID shows.
Yeah,
where it was basically just like his Ohio town that he lived in. Like everybody come to the farm and we're gonna stand here and do some shows and talk this shit out.
You know what's funny? I'm going to bring this full circle. There's a very, very funny story about Dave Chappell and Dane Cook, okay?
No shit.
Where Chappell was doing Chappell show, came into a comedy club one night to like do a guest set, and they said it was Dane Cook night. So he could only have 10 minutes, and then he had to let Dane Cook go on stage. So Chappell gets on stage, does his 10 minutes, and at the end of the 10 minutes, he goes, you know what? I usually don't do this, but I'm going to go hang out outside in front of the club, smoke a couple cigarettes. If you guys want to come hang out, talk for a bit, take some pictures or whatever, I'll be hanging out outside the front of the club. And the story is the fucking club cleared out and Dane Cook basically stood up there to like 7 people.
That's a fucking hilarious
because
story.
He was mad that Dane Cook cut his time. So he's like, you know what? I'm going to stand out front and hang out. If you guys want to come hang out with me, I'm going to be out there smoking some cigarettes.
And that was, I guess, like some of the shit that people didn't, like, I guess, understand about Dane Cook was the fact that he had all these followers and he was super successful. Because, like, I feel like he did recently come back and just like start doing podcast. Theo, he was on that podcast, and they were talking and bullshitting, and people were saying like people would started admitting I guess they were a little jealous of his success because they just didn't understand it.
Well, he was like the last of a generation of. Like the comedians really didn't respect each other back then. It didn't seem like it was very cutthroat of like.
I also feel like that still happens today.
It does, but I think it happened to him when he was coming up, and then he kind of kept it going. But he was part of that generation where they were like, "Hey, we could stop being like this to each other and just be cool."
Do you have anybody else?
I mean, we mentioned Shane Gillis. In my opinion, he's the best one to come out of Pennsylvania.
Where's he from?
He's from up near Harris, Chambersburg, I think. I think it's Chambersburg.
The only stand-up that I know that came out of Pittsburgh is Jeselnik.
Yeah, Jeselnik.
I haven't really heard much.
Shane Gillis. Locally, you got Matt Light, who's very huge locally. There's a dude named Andy Picaro who came from Pittsburgh, who I think is in New York right now, who's doing pretty well from what I've seen.
Did Picaro open for Todd Glass? Is that who I'm thinking of?
Yes. Yep. He opened on that Todd Glass show. But yeah, I think he moved to New York and is doing pretty good. I know I see him on some things.
That's what's up.
Pennsylvania is more known for wrestling than it is comedy. That's what's to bring the connection back one more time.
All right. Feel free to leave a comment if you feel to do so. Tell us who your favorite comics are, and if we miss some. If I did have to build a Rushmore of comics, Dave Chappell, George Carlin. Somebody that I didn't mention is Richard Pryor.
Yeah,
but it's the same connection to Richard Pryor that George Carlin that I have. Plus, Richard Pryor was kind of more of a actor to me. I liked seeing Richard Pryor in films. I thought he was fucking hilarious in films. Not that he wasn't funny on stage.
Yeah.
I would honestly, dude, I would throw Louis C.K. up there before a lot of other people too. I mean, I would love Louis C.K.
Mine personally would be Chappelle, Attell, Louis C.K., Bill Burr.
And then I kind of want to put Bill Burr up there too. And if anything, I would take Pryor and put Burr up there. So Carlin, Chappelle, Burr, and the other one I said.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, either way you take that, that's too good. I'd watch that show for sure. That's a really good lineup.
Well, this was fun. We don't get to do this often, but maybe someday soon we'll get off our ass and start doing something together.
Absolutely.
Something more 3 inches deep esque.
I'm gonna have more time now. So
I heard that we got we'll call the fat Zach and the skinny Zach and get the band back together too. That'd be really fun.
And then they can vouch on that Snoop Dogg story for me.
And the whole story needs to be told because I'm really pissed off that I'm learning about this now.
The whole story is he talked to us for 10 to 15 seconds and it was like, hey, have a good night, y'all.
Bullshit. With that being said, I would like to thank everybody for stopping by the Going with Rogue channel, listening to this episode of the Rogue Report podcast. Thank you, Tim, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, sir. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future content like this podcast, the SCP podcast, or the gameplay videos. Keep your ear to the ground for the next episode. Until then, we'll see you.
Bye for now.
There it is.
I thought you were giving me the cut signal.